Welcome to the Becoming Me podcast. I'm your host, Emily Cummins. BecomingMe.tv has one mission: to encourage, empower, and equip you as you're becoming who God made you to be. So, as we lean into today's episode, grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, a journal, and a pen as we discover what it means and how to embrace becoming who God uniquely designed you to be. And as we lean into this episode, I would love to hear what resonates with you, what is encouraging you. So share on social media and tag us at BecomingMe.tv and at Emily B. Cummins. Well, let's dive into today's episode. Hey, Becoming Me. I am so excited to introduce you to my warrior friend, Katy. Katy, welcome to Becoming Me.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh my goodness. I'm so honored to have you here. And I have to tell everybody, most of the time, like many of our becoming stories, I don't actually have the privilege of knowing those sharing their stories in real life. Like we know each other on social media
I
or from
know.
mutual friends. And like, I know you and we get to be a part of like the same community. And I just being able, and I'm about to like hype you up here before I know we're getting to your story, but like, truly, those of you who are watching and listening, everything you're going to hear Katy unpack today, she's the real deal. Like, I get to watch you live and walk this out in real life, not just through a social media screen. And just, I can't tell you enough how much you inspire me. So thank you for being here. I just love you.
Thank you for making me teary-eyed.
No, like truly, you're a gift. I'm glad you're here. And I do know that there are people who are joining us who are like, okay, that's so cool. I'm watching through a social media screen, Emily. I don't know Katy in real life. And so take a moment and introduce yourself to somebody who doesn't know you yet.
Sure. I'm Katy Alexander. I live in Ocala with my husband and my beautiful daughter. And when I was 17, I joined the military, just knowing I needed to get out of my house, get out of the situation that I was raised in. And so I enlisted into the Navy and said bye to my mom right after graduation and took off for 4.5 years. Um, so those 4.5 years really helped shape the person that I am today. I met Vince, my husband, in the military, which was just incredible to be able to know and work closely with him, and then just watching our relationship flourish, and then him moving to Florida with me. So fast forward a few years, we get married. We both finish college. He becomes a firefighter. I become an occupational therapy assistant. And we're just, we got married and we're just kind of like, okay, well, let's try this family situation here. And so we try having a family, and we tried for many years to have a family. We went through 2 years of fertility treatment. So I did the oral medication, I did the injections. We came very close to doing IVF, but just something in my heart was like, that's not the road for us. Let's put it on pause. Let's just enjoy being married. Let's see where God takes us and what God has for us. So we decided that we were just going to start traveling and start living our lives, as just a married couple and with our dogs, and try to enjoy being in that moment. So we actually later on, I want to say maybe a year after we stopped our fertility treatment, a friend reached out to us about a little boy who was at the time 3, and that he would need a home because he was going to be put up for adoption. And I always knew in my heart that I wanted to adopt, like just
Mhm.
something in me. I always knew that maybe I'd have biological children, but I always knew I wanted to adopt a child. And so I was talking to Vince and I was like, hey, maybe this is our opportunity to have a family. We had that little boy for 8 months, and we loved him for the entire 8 months before he got
Mhm.
reunified to his mom. Um, so that we were devastated. We were really devastated. That really took a toll on us, emotionally, um, spiritually, because
Mhm.
in moments like that, you're like, God, I did everything right. Like, why didn't this work out?
Mm.
and you don't see the big picture. He is the only one who could see the big picture. And, fast forward, now we have um, Zoey, which is an incredible story on its own. So, do you want me to dive into that,
Yeah.
Emily?
Oh my goodness. I would love for you to.
Okay.
So like, I mean, and for those who are watching, like first, I thank you for giving how you get to this moment in the story. Because as you share, people may have heard or seen even what you're about to share on the news. You guys have nationally been able to share this element of the story, but to be able to hear the leading up to it, Katy, and what you were feeling and thinking and processing. Thank you. Like that's such a gift. And so yeah, let's pick up with Zoe's entrance.
Okay, perfect. So, um, Vince and I think it was about 5 years after our foster son left us, we decided to open our hearts back up to adoption because I was told I was infertile. I was never going to have my own children. Um, Literally, it would be a miracle if I had my own children. And I accepted that. We accepted that. We knew that our family was going to be formed through adoption and love and choosing our family.
Mhm.
And that was okay with us. So we decided to open our hearts back up to adoption and fostering. We went through the process. We went through all the classes through DCF. Um, it was right after COVID, so DCF was really backed up with their home studies, and we got a private home study done through a company in Orlando. And she came in, she inspected our house. She's like, "All right, you guys are ready to go. You just have to be matched with the child now." We searched for 6 months straight, 6 months straight. And we were again starting to lose hope. We're like, God, is this not the route that you want us to take?
Mhm.
Um, just like give us a sign or give
Yeah.
us something. But Emily, I have to be transparent. At that point in our lives, we were not as committed and dedicated to the Lord as we are now. So I think he was teaching us patience, and he was
Mhm.
teaching us to lean on him in this moment, because it wasn't until we started doing that again that our family happened. So it was the whew, I will never not get emotional with the story. So I'm sorry. Um, so we had lost all hope, and it was January 2nd of 2023 that I got a phone call in the morning from Vince. He was on shift. Whew, and he said, "You're never going to believe this."
Mhm.
And I was like, "What? Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm fine. Somebody lovingly surrendered a baby to the baby box." And I said, "Well, okay. Like what? Are you serious?" I think I even told him, I was like, "Shut up. Like, no way." Um, So he's like, "Yeah, I wrote into the hospital and I told the doctor that we wanted to adopt her." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's a girl? Like, is she healthy? Is she okay?" And he's like, "Katy, she's perfect. She's perfect." And my head was spinning. I could not focus at work that day. I just started a new job. And I was like, I can't do, I cannot focus. I need to go home. Um, so I called the hospital, and they were observing New Year's that day because the second landed on a Monday. So nobody was answering the phones, but I was very persistent. And so when I finally got a phone call back on the third from the caseworker, she's like, "Okay, DCF doesn't really know what to do in this situation. This is the first safe haven surrender through the baby box that Florida has had. At the time, it was our only baby box, and we don't really know how to handle this." And I'm like, "Well, I know because I did my classes and I know like the laws,
Mhm.
and you treat it as a surrender and you put her right up for adoption." And so that case manager took what I had to say and my confidence in knowing
Mhm.
what I knew was right. And she's like, "Well, do you have anybody else that can help us? Because DCF is really just not helping us." And I was like, "Well, oh my gosh, yes, I do." Because DCF was so far behind with their home studies, we had to do a private adoption or a private
Mhm.
home study, and they do the adoptions. Like, they have an
Mhm.
attorney on their payroll.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I know somebody. And 24 hours later, we took her home. So I was nervous. I was so nervous waiting in the waiting room and of the NICU. And I
Mhm.
had like I didn't need it at the time, but I had like my little car seat. I didn't know what I needed. I was just like in shock that I was taking this baby home.
Mhm.
And the nurse came back and was like, "All right, mama, you ready to meet her?" And I'm just a blubbering mess. And I'm standing there and I'm staring at her, and she's just so sweet and little, and her little cheeks, and she's so cute in her little bassinet. And she's like, "Do you want to hold her?" And I was like, I don't even know where to start." Um, but it was that moment that we just, I fell in love with her. And I mean, at that point,
Mhm.
Vince had already got to meet her before me, and it's probably why she's so attached to him now. But
Oh
little
my
daddy
goodness.
girl.
I love this story so much. And, Katie, for somebody who's like, what is a baby box? Like, unpack for somebody if maybe they haven't heard of what the baby box is yet, so they can get that full picture of what the baby box is.
I would love to unpack that because I think it's such an incredible resource in our
Mhm.
community. And I just learned yesterday there are 313 baby boxes in the nation. Florida has 6 baby boxes as
Wow.
of yesterday. So Marion County just
Mhm.
got their second baby box. And
Wow.
I know. And essentially, what it is, it's a temperature regulated
Mhm.
bassinet, like a hospital bassinet, that if a family in crisis or a mother in crisis feels that the best and only option for her is to safely surrender her child, but she wants to do it anonymously and
Mhm.
not have that judgment of somebody, looking her in the face as she hands over her baby. She can open the baby box, which
Mhm.
there's locations all over the nation,
Mhm.
and lovingly place her child in that bassinet, shut the door. The door locks from the outside, so nobody can go into the baby box and, take
Mhm.
the baby. And an alarm sounds 90 seconds later. So it gives the mom enough time to, leave
Mhm.
the area. Um, the firefighters at the fire station will go take the baby out of the baby box. There's also a little bag in there for the mom to take with her, and it has resources, phone numbers, support lines, just everything she needs to help cope and heal from
Mhm.
what just happened. So yeah, it's an amazing resource. I think that every fire station should have it. And I learned yesterday too
Mhm.
that all of the new fire stations being built in Marion County are going to have them, Emily. So
Wow.
they're adding
That's
three
awesome.
more, 2 or 3 more to the Marion County Fire Rescue
Mm.
fire stations. And then every fire station that's being built in the future is going to automatically have a
Mm.
baby box in there. So
Wow. And like I love, I mean, what the baby box is and what it offers for someone like you just shared. They're in crisis, they've lost all hope, but surrendering in such a loving way their baby, so that way that baby, in this case, that little girl Zoe, could become, your daughter and get all the care and the love that she needs. It's truly remarkable. I'll have the link in the show notes. So if you aren't familiar with baby boxes, you want to even read more, learn more about it, you can connect and check all of that out. And in case it's now clicking with those of you who are watching and listening, Vince, so now dad to little Zoe, Katie's husband, was a first responder who responded to that call and gets to meet baby Zoe, and now it's his and Katie's daughter. And I just like how God works is just, oh my goodness.
bigger
And
than
how
anything we could have ever
I
imagined.
know so much. And how old is Zoe now?
She just turned 2 January 1st.
Every
Yeah.
January 1st now, since I've known you and know the story, I think about Zoe and
Oh,
y'all, and I'm like, God just does new things in such an incredible way. And, I love to, even as I've been able to become your friend and watching you navigate being mom to Zoe, new life season, and you and Vince parent so well. Like, I love watching, I mean, you have her in toddler soccer. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. It's so cute. Um, but I just love watching you invest your lives and how you care and love for her. But you're also in a new season professionally too. And I remember I called you recently and I was like, hey, I've seen you, share and post about this thing on Facebook you're up to. And as you unpacked it for me, I told you, you can tell everybody I'm not lying. Like, brilliant. Like, this is such a brilliant concept. And so I really would love if you're willing for you to unpack what God has put on your heart in this season of Katie's Becoming story and what you're doing now.
I would love to. So as I shared on the phone, Emily, we it wasn't until Zoe that we kind of rededicated our lives to the Lord and really have gone just plunging headfirst into what He wants us to do with our lives, and I'm so inspired by you because of, you're always so encouraging and you're always, be who God wants you to be and embrace that and roll with it. So that's what I did. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. So I went back to school and I got my master's degree in occupational therapy
Mhm.
3 years ago. And so I've been in the field for 10 years, but I really have been struggling now that I've been an occupational therapist with the fact of like these kids in this community, they don't have resources. So I work
Mhm.
in the schools with special needs children, primarily with autism, Down syndrome, developmentally delayed, and just kind of just a whole. I work with a whole bunch of different types of kids, but really the autism kids really just I mean they have a place in my heart. Working with the autistic population is just so rewarding for me.
Mhm.
And I was talking to this family one day. I was doing an evaluation at work
Mhm.
and they were really heartbroken by the lack of resources in Marion County. And I'm like, there really isn't much. Like, and
Mhm.
I've always been like, yeah, there needs to be more resources. Yeah, we need more stuff. But I've never felt the calling to do anything about it until recently. So after talking to this family, they were weighing on my heart just all night. And I was sitting on the couch and I'm just kind of scrolling social media and stuff like that. I'm like, gosh, this kid is just really weighing on me. And I was kind of just praying about it as I was just sitting there, just casually like, God, like, what could I do? And this is the Holy Spirit, Emily, because he goes, you can start a mobile therapy gym. You can start something called the sensory bus. And you're
Mhm.
going to buy a bus and you're going to lay it out in this manner.
Mhm.
And this is going to be your logo. And you're going to do this for the kids in your community. And I'm like, okay, Lord, is this just me being like impulsive, just like
Mhm.
I really need to do something, or is this really you? And it was just, I thought about it for a couple minutes and I looked at Vince and I was like, Vince, why would it be a bad idea that I started a sensory bus? And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I would have sensory equipment inside the bus and
Mhm.
I would travel to kids' homes who need the supports and the resources. And then maybe even I can offer community events and I can like
Mhm.
be a resource for people who can't necessarily, their insurance won't cover occupational therapy or they can't afford occupational therapy, but maybe I could just offer something to where these families can still have that resource on the weekends or after school and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I don't see why it would be a bad idea. So I'm not kidding, Emily. I found a bus that night on Facebook and um, I, messaged the lady and was like, hey, I think I'm interested in your bus. This is kind of exactly what I'm looking for. And so she's like, all right, well, why don't you come and look at it on Monday? So I go Monday after work and I'm talking with her and stuff. And
Mhm.
she's like, well, what are you going to use it for? And I tell her, oh, I want to start a mobile sensory gym. And she goes, are you serious?
Mhm.
Like, yeah. She's like, that is incredible. Like, that is something our community really needs. I was a special education teacher and I have all of these community resources because I'm part of all of these community like programs
Mhm.
and I want to help you. Like, I want to get you set up. So I ended up, God put her in my life, gave me a great discount on the bus. And now I have her as a resource. And when I'm ready to go, she has clients for me. She has people for me. She has community events that I could be a
Mhm.
vendor at and, really just provide these services to these kids. And I have to tell you, Emily, I was working with a client today and his mom looks at me and goes, everybody's talking about you. I was like, what? Me? Like little old Katie. And she's like, everybody's talking about you. People in Gainesville, therapists in Gainesville are talking about your sensory bus. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I
Hmm.
was hoping for. So I am
Hmm.
so excited to get this thing rolling, Emily. Like I really am.
No pun intended, rolling on the bus, right? No, I'm so proud of you. And that's why, literally, after you were catching me up on life on the phone, I was like, "Ugh, would you be willing to share this? Because it is so brilliant. And not just the idea, I think your courageous faith. God gives you this God sized idea, and you just run with it, and you're choosing to be who God made you to be. And that it really, you encourage me. And I wanted to make sure people were able to hear that because I think sometimes when God puts those big ideas on our heart and our mind, we think, oh, like, well, I couldn't do that. Or we see a need and we don't, think how maybe we see that need because we can be the solution and a part of the solution. And so I love how you are doing that right now. And yeah, so I love that. And I want to ask you this, I actually don't know about you, which is sad since we're in real life friends. Are you a coffee drinker?
I love coffee.
Good. I knew we were friends. Okay, what's
I
your
love
go-to
it.
order?
Um, well, truth be told, I don't order coffee as
Okay.
much as I make coffee.
Okay, that's good.
So we have a fancy schmancy
Mhm.
like coffee grinder that like makes coffee at our house that's better than Starbucks. So
Ooh, ooh,
we but if I do
yes.
go out, it's usually like maybe some, I don't know, foo-foo like caramel macchiato thing. I don't know, something
I
with
got
lots of
you.
sugar.
Same. I have a nice coffee maker that I love my coffee at home, but if I'm out, it is like a frou-frou fancy coffee. Like today, I had this iced coffee that tasted like a chocolate covered strawberry. It was so good. So good. Yeah, it was delicious. But if you were like just hanging out with a fellow warrior friend, and we're gonna go with your really good coffee maker. So you're having a good cup of coffee, right? And you're sharing a cup of coffee with this friend. You're talking about life. What would you say to encourage them to be who God made them to be?
I think that I would have to remind them that we're not in control of anything in our life. Very little do we have control over in our life. And you can have this big, elaborate plan for your life. I thought I was going to join the military and do a whole career, 30 years in the military, get married, have babies,
Mhm.
just do something in the medical field and, just the whole plan. And like God just is like, no, I have something better for you. So we're not in control of anything. And I think when we give up our control to the Lord, that's when you find peace and just reassurance knowing that He has you. Like it's all in His hands. And we're just along for the ride. So take whatever He puts on your heart, you
Mhm.
know, pray on it, think about it, and just do what he puts on your heart because like he puts it on your heart for a reason and
Mhm.
that we may never understand, but it's all part of his big plan. um and just don't give up hope, just keep praying because your miracle is definitely going to happen. It just might happen in a different way than you anticipated.
Drop the mic. Like, wow. I needed that. That is so wise, so good. Like, thank you for sharing that encouragement with all of us. I really appreciate it. And if somebody was watching and listening to to your story today, and they were like, "Man, like, I would love to learn more about the sensory bus, Katy, what she's doing." Where can people connect with you?
Sure. So I do have a Facebook for the Sensory Bus. It's called the Sensory Bus OT. And then we also have a website, thesensorybusot.net. But if you can't find either of those, then you can always reach out to me over Facebook or Instagram at Katy Alexander. So
And I'll have all those links in the show notes so people can easily click, connect, and follow along on your journey. And just truly, I am so proud of you. Like I'm blown away. I literally am speechless, and I'm just honored to call you my warrior friend. Thank you.
thank you, Emily.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Becoming Me podcast, where we encourage, empower, and equip you to become who God designed you to be. Make sure that you share what you learned in today's episode, a key takeaway, piece of warrior encouragement on social media, and tag us at BecomingMe.tv and at Emily B. Cummins, and encourage a fellow warrior on their becoming journey too by sharing this podcast episode with your fellow warrior friends. Hey, you know what, warrior friends? I love you, and I am cheering you on big time as you're becoming who God made you to be. This becoming journey together is a privilege, and I'm so excited to be journeying together.